The trading station Vareth 9 floated in the darkness of space like a small metal moon. Thousands of ships came and went every day. Hundreds of alien species walked through its wide halls and busy markets. It was a place of business, a place of deals, and sometimes a place of trouble. Sergeant Danny Cole stood near the entrance of the human embassy and watched the crowd move past him. He was 28 years old, with short brown hair and calm gray eyes. His Marine uniform was clean and pressed. The weapon on his hip was loaded but holstered. He had been on this station for 6 months now, and he had learned to read the aliens around him. Most of them ignored the humans. Some looked at them with curiosity. A few looked at them with something close to disgust. Humans were new to the galaxy. First contact had happened only 30 years ago, and in that time, humanity had spread to 12 colonies and joined the Galactic Trade Council. But they were still newcomers, still untested, still seen as small and weak by many of the older species. Danny did not mind being underestimated. His instructors had taught him that being underestimated was an advantage. Let them think you are weak, they said. Let them learn the truth when it is too late. Private First Class Marcus Webb walked up and stood beside him. Marcus was younger, only 24, with dark skin and bright eyes that were always moving. He was a good Marine, but he was still learning patience. "You see those Draxians over there?" Marcus asked quietly. Danny looked. Across the corridor, a group of 4 reptilian aliens stood in a loose circle. They were tall, over 7 feet, with thick scales and clawed hands. Their eyes were yellow and cold. The Draxians were known throughout the galaxy as warriors. They had conquered 3 species before the Galactic Council made them stop. They believed in strength above all else, and they believed humans had none. "I see them," Danny said. "They've been watching us for 20 minutes. I know." Marcus shifted his weight. "You think they're going to start something?" "Maybe. Maybe not. Just stay calm and stay ready." The door behind them opened, and Ambassador Linda Foster stepped out. She was a tall woman in her 50s, with gray hair pulled back in a tight bun. She had been a diplomat for 30 years, and her eyes were sharp and intelligent. She wore a simple blue suit and carried a datapad under her arm. "Sergeant Cole, Private Webb," she said with a small nod. "We need to go to the market district. I have a meeting with a Valoran trade representative." "Yes, ma'am," Danny said. "Stay between us. The crowd is thick today." They began walking. The corridors of Vareth 9 were wide enough for 20 people to walk side by side, but today they were packed with aliens of every shape and size. Small furry creatures darted between legs. Tall insectoid beings clicked and buzzed as they passed. Floating jellyfish-like aliens drifted near the ceiling. Danny kept his eyes moving. He watched for threats, for sudden movements, for anyone paying too much attention to the ambassador. This was his job. Protect the diplomat. Keep her safe. Get her where she needed to go. They entered the market district, and the noise grew louder. Vendors called out in dozens of languages. Translator devices hummed and chirped. The smell of strange foods filled the air. Danny had learned to ignore most of it. He focused on the mission, but he noticed the Draxians were following them. The 4 reptilian warriors moved through the crowd about 50 feet behind. They were not trying to hide. They wanted to be seen. Danny understood this kind of behavior. It was intimidation, a show of dominance. "We have company," he said quietly to Marcus. "I see them. Should we call for backup?" "Not yet. Just keep moving." They were halfway through the market when the crowd suddenly thinned. Danny felt the change immediately. The aliens around them were stepping back, creating space. This was not normal. This meant something was about to happen. He looked ahead and saw why. A 5th Draxian stood in the middle of the path. He was the largest one Danny had ever seen, nearly 7.5 feet tall, with scales that were dark red instead of the usual green. His arms were crossed over his massive chest, and his yellow eyes were fixed on Ambassador Foster. Danny recognized him from the security briefings. His name was Kethral Vorn. He was a minor noble from the Draxian homeworld, known for his hatred of what he called lesser species. He had been involved in several incidents on the station, but his family's wealth and influence had protected him from serious consequences. "Ambassador," Danny said quietly, "stop walking." Linda Foster stopped. She looked at the Draxian blocking their path, and her expression did not change. She had faced worse than this in her career. "Is there something you need?" she asked, her voice calm and polite. Kethral Vorn let out a low, rumbling laugh. The sound echoed through the suddenly quiet market. The aliens around them watched with wide eyes. Recording devices appeared in dozens of hands. "I need nothing from prey animals," Kethral said. His translator made his voice sound harsh and mechanical. "I am simply teaching you your place." "Our place?" the ambassador asked. "Yes. Humans think they can walk through this station as equals. They cannot. You are weak. You are soft. You are nothing but food that learned to talk." He took a step forward. "You should crawl when you see a Draxian. You should bow your heads and beg for permission to breathe our air." Danny felt Marcus tense beside him. He understood the feeling. Every instinct in his body wanted to respond, but he kept his face calm and his hands still. This was not the moment. "Not yet. We mean no disrespect," Ambassador Foster said carefully. "We are simply going to a meeting. If you would allow us to pass, we will be on our way." Kethral's eyes narrowed. "You speak to me? A human female speaks to me as if she has worth?" He looked at Danny and Marcus with contempt. "And these are your protectors? These small, soft creatures?" He laughed again. "The humans send children to guard their leaders. This is why your species will always be prey." Danny met the Draxian's gaze and said nothing. He had been called worse. He had faced bigger threats. He knew that words were not worth dying over, but Kethral was not finished. "Move aside," the Draxian commanded. "Let the female walk alone. Perhaps I will teach her what happens to prey that forgets its place." Danny stepped forward slightly, putting himself between Kethral and the ambassador. "We will be leaving now," he said quietly. "All of us, together." Kethral stared at him. The market was completely silent. Every alien watched. Every recording device captured the moment. The Draxian smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. "No," he said. "You will not." The silence in the market was heavy. Danny could feel the weight of 100 alien eyes watching him. Recording devices floated in the air like mechanical insects, capturing every moment. This would be on the galactic news networks within the hour. Whatever happened next would be seen by billions. Danny kept his breathing slow and steady. His heart rate was elevated, but his training held it in check. He'd been in worse situations. He had faced enemy fire. He had walked through war zones. A single Draxian, no matter how large, was not going to make him lose control. "Sir," he said to Kethral, keeping his voice level, "I am asking you politely to step aside. We have no quarrel with you. We just want to pass." Kethral tilted his massive head. His yellow eyes examined Danny like a predator examining a particularly interesting piece of meat. "It speaks," the Draxian said. "The little human guard speaks. Tell me, small creature, do you think you can stop me from doing anything I want? I think this does not need to become a problem." "A problem?" Kethral laughed. The 4 Draxians behind Danny and the others laughed as well. The sound was like grinding rocks. "You are not a problem. You are entertainment. I have killed beings twice your size with my bare hands. I have crushed bones and torn flesh. And you stand before me like you matter? Marcus shifted beside Danny. The younger Marine's hand was close to his weapon. Danny could feel the tension radiating from him. He understood it. Every instinct said to fight. But starting a fight here, in public, with a Draxian noble, would create a diplomatic disaster. Ambassador Foster stepped forward slightly. Her face was calm, but Danny could see the calculation in her eyes. She was looking for a way out of this that did not involve violence. Cathral Vaughan, she said, I know who you are. I know your family holds significant influence in the Draxian Empire. I also know that attacking diplomatic personnel creates serious consequences for your people. Perhaps we can discuss this like civilized beings. Cathral's expression changed. His amusement faded, replaced by cold anger. You know my name, he said slowly. You speak my name like it belongs in your mouth. He took a step closer to the ambassador. You are nothing. Your species is nothing. 30 years ago, you were crawling in the dirt of your pathetic world, and now you think you can speak to a Draxian noble as an equal. I mean no offense, the ambassador said. I'm simply trying to avoid an incident that benefits no one. Benefits? Cathral's voice rose. The aliens watching took a step back. You think I care about benefits? You think I care about trade agreements and diplomatic meetings? He spread his arms wide. I care about truth. And the truth is that humans are prey animals playing at civilization. You do not belong among the stars. You belong in cages, serving your betters. Danny watched the Draxian's body language. The alien was working himself up. This was not just intimidation anymore. This was building toward violence. He had seen this pattern before, in bars and battlefields. Some people talked to avoid fighting. Others talked to prepare for it. Kethral was preparing. Ambassador, Danny said quietly, please step back. Linda Foster hesitated, then nodded. She took 2 steps backward. Marcus moved with her, keeping his body between her and the 4 Draxians behind them. Danny remained where he was, facing Kethral alone. The Draxian noticed this. His yellow eyes focused on Danny with new interest. The little guard stays, Kethral said. You send your female to safety, but you remain. Why? Do you think you can fight me, human? I do not want to fight anyone, Danny said. Then kneel. The word hung in the air. The watching aliens murmured among themselves. Danny could hear their translators buzzing as they processed what was happening. I will not kneel, Danny said. Then you will learn. Kethral moved closer. He was within arm's reach now. Danny could smell him, a sharp scent like hot metal. Every species learns eventually. The Valorans learned when we burned their colonies. The Krethics learned when we enslaved their workers. Humans will learn too. We are not like other species. Kethral laughed. No, you are small. You are soft. You have no claws, no scales, no natural weapons. Your bones break easily. Your flesh tears without effort. You are the weakest species I have ever seen, and yet you stand before me like you have a chance. He leaned down until his face was inches from Danny's. I could kill you in 1 second, human. 1 second. And no one would punish me for removing garbage from the station. Danny did not step back. He did not blink. He looked into the Draxian's yellow eyes and saw exactly what he expected to see. Arrogance. Contempt. The absolute certainty that humans were inferior. Let them think you are weak. His instructors had said. Let them learn the truth when it is too late. I am asking you one more time, Danny said. Step aside. Let us pass. This does not need to end badly. End badly? Kethral straightened up. He looked around at the watching crowd. Do you hear this? The human thinks this might end badly for me. He turned back to Danny. "Let me show you how things end for prey that forget their place." He moved fast, faster than most aliens expected from a creature his size. His clawed hand came around in a vicious backhand strike aimed at Danny's face. Danny saw it coming. His training screamed at him to block, to counter, to respond. But he made a choice. He let the blow land. The claws raked across his left cheek. Pain exploded through his face. Blood sprayed across the metal deck. The force of the blow was enormous, enough to snap his head to the side and send him stumbling. But he did not fall. Danny caught himself, straightened, and faced Kethril again. Blood ran down his cheek and dripped onto his uniform. The wound was deep. It would leave scars. The market was absolutely silent. No one moved. No one spoke. Even the recording devices seemed to hover in stunned stillness. Kethril stared at Danny with something new in his eyes. Not respect, not yet, but surprise. Confusion. He had expected the human to drop, to cry, to beg. Danny just stood there, bleeding, looking at him with calm gray eyes. "You struck first," Danny said quietly. The camera saw it. Everyone saw it. "You drew blood from a human guard, performing his duty." Kethril's confusion turned to anger. He did not like surprises. He did not like prey that refused to act like prey. "I will do more than draw blood," he growled. "I will tear you apart and feed your pieces to the station's recyclers." He raised his clawed hand again, preparing for a killing blow. Danny watched the hand rise. He watched the claws spread. He watched the muscles in the Draxian's arm tense, and he made his decision. The next 3 seconds would change everything. Time seemed to slow down. Danny had experienced this before in combat. The human brain could process incredible amounts of information when survival was at stake. Colors became sharper. Sounds became clearer. Movements that should have been too fast to follow became slow and readable. Kethril's arm was coming down. The claws were spread wide. The Draxian's yellow eyes were filled with killing rage. He expected this to be easy. He expected the small human to die like all prey died, screaming and helpless. He was wrong. The first second began. Danny did not try to block the blow. Blocking against a creature with that much mass and strength would be pointless. Instead, he moved forward, into the attack, inside the arc of the swing. This was something the Draxian did not expect. Prey ran away. Prey tried to escape. Prey did not charge toward death. But Danny was not prey. He stepped inside Kethril's reach and drove his right hand forward. His fingers were pressed together, thumb tucked, forming a solid striking surface. He aimed for the soft tissue where the Draxian's neck met his jaw. The scales there were thinner. The security briefings had identified this as a vulnerable point. The strike landed with perfect accuracy. Danny put everything he had behind it, all his training, all his strength, all his weight. He felt the impact travel up his arm. He felt something give way beneath his fingers. Kethril made a sound that was not quite a word. His swing went wild, passing over Danny's head. His yellow eyes went wide with shock and pain. His hand moved toward his throat. The first second ended. The second second began. Danny did not stop. Stopping meant death. His body moved through the techniques that had been drilled into him through years of training. Strike, move, strike again. Do not pause. Do not hesitate. Do not give the enemy time to recover. His left hand came up in a palm strike aimed at the side of Kethril's head. The temple was another vulnerable point. Even a Draxian skull had weak spots if you knew where to look. Danny knew where to look. The palm strike connected. The sound was like a hammer hitting meat. Kethril's head snapped to the side. His legs, which had been stable and strong a moment ago, began to wobble. His arms dropped from their attack position, but he was still standing. 7 feet of muscle and scale and bone, still on his feet. Still a threat. Danny was already moving to the next technique. The second ended. The third second began. Danny dropped his weight and swept his leg in a wide arc. It caught Kethril just above the ankle, where the Draxian's stance was weakest. The combination of the throat strike, the palm strike, and now the leg sweep was too much for even a warrior like Kethril to handle. The massive Draxian fell. He did not fall backward or forward. He fell sideways, unable to control his body, unable to catch himself. His head came down at an angle toward the metal deck of the station floor. He had no time to turn, no time to protect himself. His skull hit the deck with a sound that everyone in the market would remember for the rest of their lives. The third second ended. Kethril Vorn lay on the ground. His yellow eyes were open but empty. His body twitched once, twice, and then went still. A pool of blood began to spread beneath his head. He was dead. Danny stood over the body, breathing hard. Blood still dripped from the wound on his face. His hands were shaking slightly from the adrenaline, but his eyes were clear and his mind was calm. 3 seconds. That was all it had taken. 3 seconds to end the life of a Draxian noble who had terrorized dozens of species across the galaxy. The silence in the market was absolute. No one moved. No one spoke. The recording devices captured everything, but even they seemed frozen in disbelief. Marcus was the first to react. He ran forward and stood beside Danny, his weapon drawn, covering the other 4 Draxians. But the 4 warriors were not moving. They stood in shock, staring at the body of their leader, unable to process what they had just witnessed. Ambassador Foster walked forward slowly. Her face was pale, but her voice was steady. "Sergeant Cole, are you injured?" Danny touched his cheek. The bleeding had slowed but not stopped. "I will need medical attention, ma'am. But I am functional." "What?" One of the Draxian warriors finally spoke. His voice was broken and confused. "What are you?" Danny turned to look at him. The Draxian took a step back, fear visible in his yellow eyes for the first time. "I am a United States Marine," Danny said. "We do not start fights, but we finish them." The murmuring began then. It spread through the crowd like a wave. Translator devices hummed and clicked as dozens of species tried to understand what they had just seen. A human, a small and soft human, had killed a Draxian warrior in 3 seconds. With his bare hands. After being struck first. This was not supposed to be possible. Humans were prey. Humans were weak. Everyone knew this. Everyone had been wrong. Station security arrived within minutes. They were a mix of species, led by a tall insectoid being in a silver uniform. They took in the scene, the body on the ground, the blood on Danny's face, the silent crowd watching. What happened here? The security chief asked. "Self-defense," Ambassador Foster said immediately. "The Draxian struck my guard first. Unprovoked assault. We have witnesses. We have recordings." The security chief looked at Danny. "You killed him in self-defense?" "Yes, ma'am. In 3 seconds?" Danny said nothing. There was nothing to say. The security chief turned to look at the body of Kethril Vorn. Then she looked back at Danny. Something changed in her compound eyes. It might have been respect. It might have been fear. "Human security officer," she said slowly. "Please come with us for processing. This incident will need to be reviewed." "I understand." Danny looked at Ambassador Foster. "Ma'am, please continue to your meeting. Private Webb will escort you." "Danny," the ambassador began. "I will be fine, ma'am. Just paperwork." Marcus looked like he wanted to argue, but he knew better. He nodded to Danny and led the ambassador away through the crowd. The aliens parted before them like water, stepping back, giving them room. They were looking at humans differently now. Danny walked with the security officers toward the station's headquarters. Behind him, medical teams were collecting the body of Kethral Vorn. The crowd was beginning to disperse. But the recordings had already begun spreading across the galactic network stopped by tonight. Everyone would know what had happened by tomorrow. Everything would change. Danny touched his wounded cheek again and winced at the pain. The Draxian had been strong. The blow could have killed a normal person. But Danny was not normal. He was a Marine. He had been trained since he was 18 years old to fight, to survive, to protect. Kethral had called humans prey animals. Prey animals did not kill their predators in 3 seconds. Danny allowed himself a small, grim smile. Perhaps the galaxy was about to learn what humans really were. The holding room was small and gray. Danny sat on a metal bench, his hands resting on his knees. A medical officer had cleaned and treated the wound on his face. The cuts were deep, but not dangerous. He would have scars, 3 parallel lines across his left cheek, a permanent reminder of this day. He did not mind. Scars told stories. This one would tell a good one. The door opened and Commander Ziradex walked in. She was the station's security chief, a being from an insectoid species called the Vrex. She was tall and thin, with 4 arms and compound eyes that reflected the light like polished jewels. Her silver uniform marked her as a high-ranking officer. "Sergeant Danny Cole," she said, sitting down across from him. "United States Marine Corps, assigned to Embassy Security Detail for the past 6 months. No previous incidents. No complaints. Your file says you are a model officer. Thank you, ma'am. I was not complimenting you." She placed a data pad on the table between them. "I was stating a fact. Model officers do not usually kill Draxian nobles in public markets." He struck first. "Yes, I have seen the recordings. Over 300 separate recordings from that many devices. The entire galaxy has seen the recordings." She tapped the data pad. "The video has been viewed over 2 billion times in the past 4 hours. You are famous, Sergeant Cole." Danny said nothing. Commander Thex leaned forward. "The Draxian Empire is not happy. High Speaker Morath arrived on this station 1 hour ago. He is demanding your execution. He says you murdered Kethral Vorn without provocation. The recordings show otherwise." "Yes, they do." The commander's compound eye studied him carefully. "But the Draxians do not care about recordings. They care about honor. A human killed one of their nobles. To them, this is an insult that can only be answered with blood. Then they should not have let their noble start fights he could not finish." Commander Thex made a sound that might have been a laugh. "You are calm, Sergeant. I have seen many beings in this room. Humans, Draxians, Valorans, others. Most of them are afraid. You are not. Why?" Danny met her compound eyes. "Because I did nothing wrong. I was performing my duty. I was protecting my ambassador. I was attacked. I defended myself. That is all. In 3 seconds. Yes, with your bare hands." "Yes." Commander Thex sat back. "Sergeant Cole, I have been in security for 47 years. I have seen many species fight. I have seen Draxians kill beings with single blows. I have never seen a Draxian killed by an unarmed opponent. I have certainly never seen it happen in 3 seconds." She paused. "How?" Danny considered his answer. "We train. All humans in the military train. Combat is a skill. Like any skill, it can be learned. Other species train as well. The Draxians train from birth. They train to fight other Draxians. To fight beings who fight the same way they do. They do not train to fight humans. And how do humans fight?" Danny looked at her steadily. "Humans fight to win. Whatever it takes. However long it takes. We do not care about honor or tradition or ritual. When we fight, we use every advantage we have. We aim for weakness. We strike without warning. We do not stop until the threat is ended. That sounds brutal. We come from a brutal world, Commander. Earth is not a gentle place. Our ancestors survived because they were willing to do what others would not. That has not changed. The door opened again. A Draxian officer entered, followed by another Draxian in elaborate ceremonial robes. This was High Speaker Morith, Danny realized. He was older than Kethral had been, with faded green scales and cold, calculating eyes. This is the creature? Morith asked, looking at Danny with open hatred. This is the thing that murdered Kethral Vorn? This is Sergeant Danny Cole, Commander Thex said. He has been detained pending review of the incident. There is nothing to review. Execute him. High Speaker, the evidence clearly shows that Kethral Vorn struck first. Under Galactic Station law, Sergeant Cole had the right to defend himself. He did not defend himself. He killed. There is a difference. Not under the law. Commander Thex stood. The law does not specify proportional response. If someone attacks you, you may respond with whatever force you deem necessary. Sergeant Cole deemed lethal force necessary. That is his right. Morith's eyes narrowed. You side with the human? I side with the law. That is my job. The High Speaker turned to Danny. He stepped closer, looming over the seated human. You think this is over, creature? You think killing one of our nobles will go unpunished? The Draxian Empire will remember this. We will find a way to make your species pay. Danny looked up at him. Your noble called us prey animals. He called us weak. He called us food that learned to talk. He stood slowly. The High Speaker was still taller, but Danny did not care. He was wrong, and he died because he was wrong. If your empire wants to make us pay, come try. We will teach you the same lesson we taught him. For a moment, something flickered in the High Speaker's eyes. It might have been anger. It might have been fear. The door opened a third time. A holographic display activated in the corner, showing a human face. Danny recognized him immediately. Admiral Chris Parker, commander of the human military forces in this sector. High Speaker Morith, the Admiral said. His voice was calm but cold. I have been monitoring this situation. I want to be clear about something. Sergeant Cole acted within his rights and within the law. The human government stands behind him completely. Your government protects murderers? My government protects its people. All of its people. If you have a problem with that, you are welcome to file a formal complaint with the Galactic Council. But I should warn you, the Admiral leaned forward slightly. The Council will review the same recordings that the entire galaxy has already seen. They will see your noble attack an unarmed human. They will see that human defend himself. And they will see what humans are capable of when they are threatened. Is that a threat, Admiral? No, High Speaker. It is a fact. Humans have been in this galaxy for 30 years. We have been peaceful. We have been cooperative. We have been patient. The Admiral's eyes hardened. But we are not weak. We have never been weak. We simply chose not to show our strength. Your noble forced our hand. That is not our fault. It is yours. High Speaker Morith stared at the holographic display for a long moment. Then he turned and walked out of the room without another word. The Draxian officer followed him. Commander Thex watched them go. Then she turned back to Danny. You are free to leave, Sergeant Cole. The case is closed. Self-defense, clearly documented. No charges will be filed. Thank you, Commander. Do not thank me. She looked at him with those strange compound eyes. I have a feeling this incident is just the beginning. The galaxy is going to look at humans very differently after today. I know. Are you ready for that? Danny touched the bandage on his face. The wound throbbed beneath the sterile covering. "We have always been ready, Commander. We were just waiting for the galaxy to notice." 3 days passed. The recordings spread across every inhabited world in the galaxy. News networks played them on endless loops. Analysts examined every frame, every movement, every second of the confrontation. Experts debated what they had seen. The consensus was clear. Humans were not what everyone had thought. Danny stood in the briefing room of the human embassy, his hands clasped behind his back. The wound on his face was healing well, but the scars were already forming. 3 lines like claw marks that would never fade. He wore his dress uniform, and his posture was perfect. Ambassador Foster stood at the podium before him. A crowd of alien journalists filled the room, representing species from across the galaxy. Recording devices hovered in the air like a swarm of mechanical insects. This was the official press conference, the human response to the incident that had shaken galactic society. "Thank you all for coming," the ambassador began. "I want to address the events of 3 days ago directly and honestly. Yes, a Draxian noble died. Yes, he was killed by a human marine. These are facts." The crowd murmured. Translators buzzed. "But I want to be clear about something," she continued. "Sergeant Cole did not seek this confrontation. He did not want it. He asked multiple times for Kethral Vorn to step aside and allow us to pass peacefully. Kethral refused. Kethral attacked. Sergeant Cole responded. He killed him, a Draxian journalist called out. In 3 seconds. Yes, he did. The ambassador met the journalist's eyes. Because that is what human soldiers are trained to do. We are not a warlike species by choice. But we come from a dangerous world. A world where survival required strength, speed, and the willingness to do whatever was necessary. We carry that heritage in our blood. She paused and looked around the room. For 30 years, humans have tried to be good members of galactic society. We have traded fairly. We have honored our agreements. We have avoided conflicts. Many species took our peaceful behavior as evidence of weakness. They were wrong. She gestured toward Danny. Sergeant Cole is not unusual. He is a typical example of what human military personnel are capable of. We have millions more like him. The room was silent. We do not want war, Ambassador Foster said. We do not want violence. But we will defend ourselves. We will defend our people. If anyone of any species threatens a human, they should understand what they are facing. We are not prey. We have never been prey. She leaned forward. We are the apex predators of a death world. And we have been holding back. The press conference ended with a flood of questions that the ambassador handled with calm precision. Danny stood silently through it all, watching the alien journalists, seeing the way they looked at him now. It was different from before. Before, they had looked past him, through him, as if he did not matter. Now they watched him like he might attack at any moment. He did not enjoy it. He had never wanted to be famous or feared. He had just wanted to do his job. But he understood the importance of this moment. The galaxy needed to see humans as they really were. The mask of weakness had served its purpose. Now it was time for the truth. After the press conference, Danny walked through the station toward the market district. He was not on duty, but he wanted to see it again. The place where everything had changed. The market was busy as always. Aliens of every shape and size moved through the stalls, buying and selling, talking and arguing. But when Danny entered, the noise dropped. Heads turned. Conversation stopped. He walked through the crowd, and the crowd parted before him. No one touched him. No one blocked his path. No one looked at him with contempt anymore. They looked at him with something else. Respect, maybe. Or caution. Or simple fear. He did not mind. Whatever kept his people safe was acceptable. He reached the spot where Kethril had fallen. The blood had been cleaned away, but he could still see the slight discoloration in the metal deck. A memorial marker had been placed nearby, a small holographic display showing Kethril's face and name. Danny looked at it for a moment. He had not wanted to kill. He had not enjoyed it. But he did not regret it either. Kethril had made his choice. He had chosen to attack. He had chosen to threaten. He had paid the price for those choices. "Excuse me." Danny turned. A small alien stood behind him, a child of a species he did not recognize. The child had large dark eyes and soft blue fur. A parent stood nearby, watching nervously. "Yes?" Danny said. "Are you the human from the video?" The child asked. "The one who fought the Draxian?" "Yes, I am." The child tilted its head. "Can all humans fight like that?" Danny knelt down so he was at the child's eye level. The parent tensed but did not intervene. "We can," Danny said. "But we hope we never have to. Fighting is not something we enjoy. It is something we do when we have no other choice. Why? Because fighting hurts people. Sometimes good people. We would rather talk and trade and make friends." He smiled slightly. "But if someone tries to hurt us or hurt the people we protect, then yes, we will fight. And we will win." The child considered this. "My teacher said humans were weak. Your teacher was wrong." "I know." The child smiled, showing small teeth. "I think humans are scary." Danny laughed. It was the first time he had laughed in 3 days. "We can be," he admitted, "when we need to be." The child's parent finally stepped forward and took the young one's hand. The parent looked at Danny with a complex expression. "Thank you," the parent said quietly, "for being kind to my child, of course." They walked away. Danny watched them go, then turned back to the memorial marker. He stood there for a long moment, alone with his thoughts. The galaxy was different now. Humans were different now, in the eyes of everyone who had seen that video. The age of being underestimated was over. From now on, other species would think twice before threatening a human. That was good. That was the point. But Danny hoped, truly hoped, that no one else would have to die to prove it. He touched the scars on his face one last time. Then he turned and walked away, through the crowd that parted before him, through the station that had become famous because of what happened here. Behind him, unseen, a Galactic Council analyst added a note to humanity's species file. The threat assessment, which had read minimal for 30 years, was changed with a few keystrokes. It now read extreme. And somewhere in the galaxy, other species began to quietly revise their opinions of the small, soft creatures from the planet called Earth. They had called humans prey. They had been wrong. They would not make that mistake again.